Hi, I'm Jessica Collier, and I'm here to discuss motivation theories, mostly self-determination theory. But I'll talk about person-environment fit and stage-environment fit, and then self-determination theory, along with the implications of those theories. Then I'll show an instructional design artifact and discuss whether learners might feel intrinsically motivated when they use it. I apologize for not having my camera on and for my congested voice as I am recovering from another cold. Person-environment fit is the degree of fit between a person and their environment. According to the theory, our behavior, motivation, and mental health are influenced by the fit between the characteristics we bring to our social environments and the characteristics of those environments. We aren't likely to do well in social environments that don't meet our psychological needs. One of the articles we read gave the example that if the social environments in a typical junior high school don't fit with the needs of adolescents, then the person-environment fit theory would predict a decline in motivation, interest, performance, and behavior as the students move into that environment. I'm having flashbacks of my dreadful time in junior high as a goth in small-town Texas. As a side note, person-environment fit is also discussed in the workplace, and there have been studies on the dimensions of person-vocation fit and person-organization fit, but I won't bore you with all of those details. Stage environment fit was coined by Eccles and Midgley, who said it's a spin-off of person environment fit. Stage environment fit tells us how well the learning environment fits the developmental stages of students. So this theory says that students do better when the environment is suited to their developmental needs. That makes sense. The authors felt that middle school students suffer from a poor stage environment fit. For example, a junior high classroom might feature too much control and discipline, when student decision-making, choice, and self-management would be beneficial. To state the obvious, I would say that one of the implications is that instructional design should take into consideration the person's fit to the environment. If student satisfaction is high when study conditions are in line with the student's abilities and preferences, the student may perform better. I think this comes with discovering fit through flexibility. If you think about it, the more flexible an instructor is with the design of a classroom environment and the design of instruction, the happier a student might be, right? Because they are now more comfortable in the environment. I know we're not talking about surface level things like furniture here, but this makes me think of my fourth grade teacher and how she had different stations in her classroom, including a fort that you could hide out in. I've seen also modern classrooms with different areas to hang out in to provide choices to students based on their need and preferences. If those classrooms were instead just boring rooms with bare walls and nothing but uncomfortable desks, would every student do as well? Probably not. Even in the workplace, it's easier to focus when you're comfortable, when you have a private office instead of a cubicle and a supervisor who has a positive rather than a negative impact on your mental health, and your overall work atmosphere is pleasant according to your preferences. The student side of this also makes me think of Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, which refers to the design of instructional materials and activities to fit the needs of all learners. UDL helps reduce the mismatch of fit between a student's capabilities and the demands of the instruction or assessment. So by giving students choice and voice, it helps create a better fit in a suitable learning environment for everyone. Self-determination theory relates to human motivation by three innate psychological needs. It suggests that people have the ability to become self-determined or self-motivated when those needs are fulfilled. Teachers can create classroom conditions that support self-determination, competence, and relatedness. Reeve points out the teacher-created contextual elements that nurture the student's needs. Autonomy support nurtures self-determination. Structure determines the need for competence, and interpersonal involvement nurtures relatedness. Self-determination studies have found that autonomously motivated students thrive in educational settings, and that students benefit when teachers support their autonomy rather than control their behavior. When teachers listen more, encourage conversation, and allow time for independent work, it can have a positive influence on students' perceptions of self-determination or competence. There are three main types of motivation, as seen in Figure 1 of Ryan and Desi's article. These are amotivation, which is the state of lacking the intention to act, intrinsic motivation, the doing of an activity for its inherent satisfactions, and in the middle, extrinsic motivation, which is largely driven by external factors. For example, I'm paid to do a job, so I'm motivated by the money. Believe me, it's not just purely from the inherent satisfaction of working my life away. Research on self-determination theory shows that students benefit specifically from autonomous motivations, which includes intrinsic motivation. When students are intrinsically motivated, they feel more self-determined. Some outcomes of intrinsic motivation include choosing challenging activities, spending more time on tasks, and, learning more from the activities and achieving their set goals. How a teacher teaches and motivates has a substantial effect on how free and self-determining a student perceives themselves to be. First, teachers should be autonomy supportive in their interactions with their students. For example, they should be responsive, supportive, and flexible, giving students time to work in their own way. And instruction should be designed in a way that fosters that sense of perceived self-determination, perhaps by using 3 qualities within the experience of self-determination: internal perceived locus of causality, volition, and perception of choice. Again, the choice part is reminiscent of universal design for learning, which I'm sure somehow intersects nicely with this theory. High-quality instructional design would take into consideration the 3 psychological needs of competence, autonomy, and relatedness, and part of that could include providing different options for engagement, representation, and action and expression, which are UDL's 3 main principles. For example, instructors can offer multiple methods of evaluation of student knowledge, like giving a choice to the student whether they wanted to write a paper, build a website, or create a video for some specific assigned project. One thing I read somewhere while I was learning about this theory is that using rewards can undermine intrinsic motivation and result in a slower acquisition of skills. Just throwing that out there as something to ponder. Is it true? If anyone made it this far into the video, what do you all think? Let me know on the discussion board. The artifact I chose to show is called Tinker, and it's a website and app that uses gamification to teach kids how to code. I'll just show the homepage, which will give you an idea of what it looks like. So they have games broken down into age-appropriate groups, and then they have them sorted by application, like JavaScript and Python. And for the kids, they have beginner games like Barbie Pet Bed and Hot Wheels Obstacle Course. But you can scroll down and you'll see a really quick preview of what it might look like right here. And so you have actions that are taking place, but you also have blocks of code that you're putting together to program certain things. This is similar to Scratch if you've ever used that one. We had to design a game in Scratch for our master's program. Anyway, you can play games and you can also build games with Tinker. You can even create Minecraft add-ons and mods, and Tinker provides a collaborative environment with competitions and the ability to remix other people's creations as well. Now, please forgive me while I take a relevant detour. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of research you can find out there on gamification and intrinsic motivation. Even back in the early 80s, a guy named Malone talked about why people find computer games fun and motivating, and he talked about the theory of intrinsically motivating instruction. Do you remember my question from a couple minutes ago about whether using rewards can undermine intrinsic motivation? Well, apparently a lot of people have pondered this thoroughly, and guess what? Gamification has been shown to both facilitate and to undermine intrinsic motivation through either supporting or doing the opposite to the basic psychological needs for autonomy and competence. In other words, gamification and its reward systems could be good or bad for intrinsic motivation. It depends on too many contextual factors to make a solid, definite claim. Anyway, as far as Tinker goes, yes, I think students will feel intrinsically motivated as long as they find one of the games to be a fit to their interests and needs. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.